My name is Mark, and this is the story of how my pet iguana, Zeus, went missing in the middle of Phoenix, and how an ordinary day turned into one of the most unforgettable experiences of my life. Zeus wasn't just any iguana. He was my companion for over 5 years. I got him as a baby from a local pet store in Mesa, and from the moment he crawled onto my hand, I knew we had a special bond. Over the years, I had come to understand his moods, his quirks, and even his favorite sunbathing spots around the house. If you had asked anyone who met him, they'd say Zeus had a personality, calm but curious, patient but mischievous. Living in Phoenix has its perks for a reptile owner. The sun is abundant, and the dry heat is perfect for a cold-blooded creature like him to thrive. I had a carefully set up outdoor enclosure with heat lamps and plenty of shade. Zeus loved his little outdoor kingdom, but he was never the type to wander too far. I thought he was safe there. It was a Thursday morning when everything changed. I had just finished my routine of checking on Zeus, making sure his enclosure was clean, and refreshing his water. He was lounging near his favorite basking rock, eyes half closed, soaking up the warmth. After a quick breakfast, I left the house to run a few errands, leaving the backyard gate securely latched as always. But when I returned, barely an hour later, Zeus was gone. At first, I thought maybe he had burrowed under the foliage or hidden somewhere in the enclosure. I called his name softly and searched every inch of his outdoor home, but it was like he had vanished into thin air. Panic started to creep in. I knew iguanas were good at hiding, but this felt different. I expanded my search to the entire backyard, moving pots, looking under furniture, and even checking the nearby bushes. Nothing. My heart sank deeper. Had he escaped through a loose latch I didn't notice? The thought made my stomach twist. Iguanas can't survive for long without proper heat and hydration, especially in the harsh Phoenix heat. I posted an urgent message in the neighborhood Facebook group, describing Zeus and pleading for any sightings. I put up flyers with his photo and my contact details. I called the local animal shelters and reptile rescue groups, hoping someone had found him or taken him in. For 2 days, I hardly slept. I was consumed by worry and guilt. I kept replaying the morning in my mind, wondering what I could have done differently. Each time I imagined Zeus out there, exposed to the hot sun or lurking in the urban wilderness, I felt a crushing helplessness. Then, on the 3rd day, a call came that shifted everything. A local restaurant owner reported seeing a large green lizard sunbathing on their canopy. Could it really be Zeus? I didn't want to get my hopes up, but it was the first lead I had. I grabbed my car keys and drove straight to the restaurant. The streets were sweltering, but adrenaline pushed me forward. As I pulled up and looked up at the restaurant's canopy, there he was. Zeus, basking in the sun like he owned the place, completely unbothered by the city bustle below. I stood there, stunned, barely able to believe my eyes. Seeing Zeus perched high above the busy street, calmly soaking up the Phoenix sun on the restaurant's canopy, was surreal. It was like he had stepped out of a nature documentary, perfectly still, eyes half closed, completely at ease amid the hum of traffic and the chatter of diners below. I was amazed. How had he gotten there? And how long had he been out there? The restaurant owner, a kind woman named Maria, came out to meet me. She explained that Zeus had appeared 2 days ago, and they initially thought he was some sort of decoration or a stray exotic animal that had escaped from somewhere. They didn't want to disturb him because he seemed peaceful and wasn't bothering anyone. Maria said a few customers had even snapped photos and shared them online, sparking some lighthearted curiosity. But that still left the question of how Zeus had made such an improbable journey from my backyard to the top of a canopy several blocks away. I started piecing things together. Phoenix can be unpredictable, especially with its winds. I remembered the day Zeus went missing. The weather was dry but windy, a typical early summer breeze. Was it possible Zeus had somehow climbed out of the yard and caught a ride on a gust of wind? That seemed unlikely for an iguana, but it was the only clue I had. Maria offered to help me get Zeus down safely. We talked about how to approach him without startling him. Iguanas are skittish and fast, and if he panicked, he could easily dart off into a dangerous area or fall from the canopy. I needed to be calm, steady, and patient. I fetched some of Zeus's favorite snacks from home, collard greens and slices of mango, and slowly made my way toward the canopy's edge. Zeus's eyes flicked open, and for a moment, I thought he might leap off. But then, as if recognizing me, he stayed put. With a steady hand, I reached out and gently coaxed him toward me. It took some time, and a lot of coaxing, but eventually Zeus allowed me to scoop him up. The relief washed over me in waves. He was warm, his skin dry and sunbaked but otherwise healthy. Maria and I carefully brought Zeus down from the canopy, and I immediately checked him for injuries. Thankfully, he seemed none the worse for wear, no scrapes, no bruises. It was a miracle considering the precarious spot he'd been sunning himself in. But even as I cradled Zeus in my arms, questions swirled in my mind. How did he escape in the first place? How did he survive all those days on his own in the urban landscape? And what did this experience mean for both of us moving forward? Maria invited me to sit and have a drink, and as we talked, I realized this wasn't just about a lost and found pet. It was a story about survival, connection, and the unexpected ways our lives intersect with the city around us. I still had to get Zeus home safely, but for the first time in days, hope was back. Zeus wasn't just lost, he was found. And his story wasn't over yet. After safely bringing Zeus down from the canopy, I took him straight home to his enclosure. I set him down gently on his favorite basking rock, watching closely as he stretched out and absorbed the heat. He seemed tired but calm, almost as if he was relieved to be back in familiar territory. That night, as Zeus slept, I sat on the patio thinking about everything that had happened. How an iguana that seemed so bound to his routine and enclosure could suddenly disappear, only to turn up in the most unexpected place. It dawned on me how little control we sometimes have over the lives of the creatures we care for, despite all our efforts to keep them safe. The next few days were filled with more reflection and action. I realized the backyard gate I'd thought was secure had a small gap at the bottom where Zeus must have slipped through. Probably, in search of warmth or simply driven by curiosity, he had wandered out into the neighborhood. Phoenix's summer sun and the array of urban structures gave him plenty of opportunities to climb and explore. Somehow, he made his way to the restaurant's canopy, a perfect sunbathing spot, high above the street chaos. I also learned that Zeus's ability to regulate his body temperature by sunbathing was crucial to his survival. Iguanas need warmth to digest food and maintain their metabolism, so it made sense he sought the sunniest place he could find. But being in an unfamiliar, exposed place without water for days was risky, especially under the relentless Arizona heat. I contacted local reptile vets and animal experts to check Zeus thoroughly. Thankfully, he was healthy, though they recommended a gradual reintroduction to his habitat and plenty of hydration. Zeus seemed to bounce back quickly, as if proud of his unexpected adventure. The experience changed how I cared for him. I reinforced his enclosure, added extra safety measures, and gave him even more attention, trying to balance his need for freedom with his safety. But beyond that, I realized this was a story I wanted to share, not just as a pet owner, but as someone who witnessed the unexpected resilience of a creature often underestimated. Zeus's disappearance and reappearance became a small sensation in our community. The restaurant's social media post about the canopy iguana went viral, and people started recognizing Zeus around the neighborhood. It brought strangers together, creating conversations about pet safety, urban wildlife, and the little wonders hiding in plain sight. In the end, Zeus's journey was a reminder of the unexpected twists life can throw at us, and how sometimes, the most ordinary moments can turn into extraordinary stories. From a missing pet to a sunbathing celebrity, Zeus taught me to stay patient, hopeful, and ready for surprises. And while he's now comfortably back home, never far from my watchful eye, his story still sparks smiles and curiosity wherever I tell it.